authenticity means that you are true to yourself. Your mind does not move around the wrong notions created at the personal level due to the emotional dependence. You are not running after the fearful thoughts, anxious thoughts, reactive thoughts, anxious thoughts. So then you are true to yourself. So when you think, speak, and act with that authenticity, there is no issue, there is no problem in yourself. In another way, when you 100% you are settled in your true nature, you are always authentic. You are always authentic. So ultimately, it comes to that I am aware. Who am I? So Eastern wisdom says I am pure consciousness, and that is a non dual consciousness which brings forth or which manifests in peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. It has no opposites. Hence, you are authentic. Now, being authentic, being unauthentic, that's a good topic. So being unauthentic means that I am carried out by the wrong notion, false perception, and that causes me the fear and the anxiety and the reaction and the anger. By the way, I want to tell you. So when you told me that you are not an angry person, the wrong duality is at the root, follows the anxiety. If that anxiety reaches to a point of boiling, it becomes an anger or obsession. So that is the way I am unauthentic. So let us go and deeply understand. Say, for example, it's an example that you are suffering from a fever about 102 and 103 degree. Now I am anxious, I am scared, there is a fear of death. Pay attention. So you have a fever, doctor says, let me diagnose you. So doctor diagnoses and it says it is caused by the viral infection. So it means is fevers is an indication to remove the cause of viral infection? Yes. So now ask yourself, is fever is good or bad? Fever is good.
Fever is good.
Fever is good because it indicates, it helps the doctor to diagnose that you have some problem at the deeper level. But if I am worried about my fever, I move into anxiety and reaction and duality. If suffering is real, suffering from the fever is real, am I worthy of suffering from fever? So you see that you want to be authentic. You don't get upset whatever is happening, outer situation, including the fever. For example, I have to find out the cause. So now see, so the doctor gives you a pills for to get rid of the virus infection. The fever goes by itself. So when I know who am I, when I know of my authenticity, my anxiety, my fever, my fear, being upset, they all disappear. Look at it. Let me take care of the viral infection. Fever will disappear on its own. Let me take care. Who am I? What is my authentic self? The anxiety, fear, and the duality will naturally go away. So, but with simply listening and learning, that is the first step from a teacher, and then master, all our master says, I have to contemplate and reflect. So the more I contemplate and reflect, the trillions of uninvited, pay attention, uninvited, unwelcome, strange thoughts that is causing the anxiety and the fear will be replaced because you are listening and learning, one, then you are contemplating and reflecting, two, and then you are doing the practice. Now, based on this example, you are suffering from fever or anxiety or fear. Now ask yourself, am I worthy of suffering? Answer is big no. Then why I am suffering? Well, we should ask the question, why I am suffering then? Because I live in ignorance. I live being unauthentic. So what is the solution? I have to be authentic. What is the way? Learn these simple principles and apply that in daily life. You will never remember if you do not contemplate and reflect. If you do not listen to it again and again. If you do not practice, it will not come to your mind when you have a fear and anxiety and reaction, etc.
Is it? Do you ever get to a place in your journey where one doesn't experience? I mean, how could you say that I don't experience fear or anxiety or anything? I mean, as a human being, is it even possible to get to that level?
Only 500% it is possible.
But we all have, like, you can't stop thinking. You can't. The emotions come and the emotions go. So what level?
It enters into the mind, and the mind is an instrument that can be educated. We can remove the impurities and ignorance from the mind to be fearless. Mind is, after all, it is an instrument, my friend. We can change the functioning of the instrument. Fact is that, the fact is that
Yeah.
when you are aware, conscious, and for example, the outer situation is conducive, at that moment you are totally fearless, free from emotional dependence that causes the anxiety and the reaction. In fact, in fact, 90% of the time, for average intelligent person, that time is the state of the fearless and free from anxiety that we don't notice. We only notice when there is a fear and anxiety, when there is a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, am I worthy of suffering? The answer is no. When I live consciously, when I learn these principles, I reflect. Am I worthy of suffering? Yes, because I keep on supporting my unauthentic self. So keep on supporting the unauthentic self. Then the question will come, can any human being Why you are taking care of 7 billion people on the earth? Why don't you take care of yourself? Why you want to be philosophical? Come down to yourself. The more your mind goes far away from yourself, it will keep the duality intact, it will keep the anxiety intact, it will keep the fear, it will nurture it. Look at yourself. Who am I? Am I authentic to myself? Do I really know who am I? That is the most important question. If I know, then I will not suffer. One answer. Now go to the opposite. If I do not know and I claim that I am anxious, I am reactive, I am fearful, then I will suffer. Go further. What does it mean? It means that if I know I cannot get rid of the anxiety, fear, anger, and hesitation and reaction, I claim my nature is being anxious, fearful. So if my nature is, now see the way the masters puts the explains this. So if my nature is, say for example, being angry or agitated or anxious or fearful, then I will be happy being angry, I will be happy being anxious, I will be happy being fearful. This is what you are asking me. That is my nature. So, what is my nature? I want to return to my nature. I'll have a big face, and you say, what happened? No, I'm happy. Why? Because being sad. Oh, I'm happy being sad. So why you are asking the opposite question? Why don't you work on the peace and happiness? Why you ask philosophical question that takes you more towards the negativity? I'll be happy being sad. I'll be happy being anxious. I'll be happy being fearful. Why you are laughing? Because I'm fearful. Haha. Don't never take that stand in the mind. So that proves that our nature, essential nature, is of the nature of peace and happiness, of love and wisdom. That is what we are seeking all the time. You are earning money ultimately for peace and happiness. You are going for a date, ultimate goal is peace and happiness. You buy a new house, ultimately the goal is peace and happiness. So that indicates our essential nature, our authentic self is of the nature of peace and happiness.
But
But
that would
that would
be
be
duality
duality
if
if
I'm
I'm
doing
doing
things
things
to
to
try to
try to
make
make
myself
myself
happy
happy
and
and
peaceful.
peaceful.
Let us treat the path. We are caught by the dualities, and that causes the ignorance, and the ignorance creates a false claim in the mind that I am angry, agitated, fearful. So
Yeah.
let us remove that wrong notion. So when you remove that wrong notion, only peace and happiness remains. So I enter into the non-dual, one pure consciousness. So what Eastern wisdom says, what it says, do you accept with all humility that you do not know who you are?
Say
Say
that
that
one
one
more
more
time. Is
time. Is
that a
that a
question?
question?
Yeah, it's a question coming from the Eastern wisdom that's ask, our masters ask, do you accept with all humility that you do not know what is your authentic self? Or you know it? So if you know it, you are already in peace and happiness. You will say goodbye to this beer guy. But if you are not, it means do you accept with all humility that I do not know who am I? So when I accept with the humility means receptivity. I want to know who am I. I will follow these principles until I find my authentic self. So I accept with the humility in my mind that I have a misunderstanding about who am I. I have a wrong notion. I have to remove those wrong notions. Eastern wisdom guides us how to remove those wrong notions to find our authentic self. Ignorance means I do not know who am I. Simple. I am not illiterate. Ignorance does not mean illiteracy. Ignorance means I claim falsely who am I. Ignorance means a sense of incompleteness, misunderstanding who am I.
I mean, ignorance thinks there is an I. I mean, ignorance would be like, I am somebody, like I am Nick, like I am separate from, I am a separate entity.
That is the greatest level of ignorance. Once we understand that I am a separate entity, then the entire universe, we have to find out whether I'm really a separate entity or not. So until I find it out, I am still in ignorance.
Yeah.
Eastern wisdom starts, I said, humility, recognize I'm in ignorance, so I have to remove that ignorance. So removing the ignorance is a solution. So the very first step to know is to keep in the mind, I do not know. There should be a sense of receptivity. And if the mind goes on running after the fear or anxiety reaction or the duality, I bring it back and listen to these principles in order to clear the mind. Means what? You don't lose awareness of the final goal of who am I. Let us go further. So our master says that we live in ignorance, that is why it causes all kinds of suffering in our life. So, well, what is the opposite? We should live wisely. Ignorance to wisdom. So, what it means by living wisely? Instead of emotional dependence, I have an emotional freedom. We'll talk about it. Instead of delusion, we have a dispassion. Instead of attachment or detachment, we have a state of dispassion in the mind. So that state of dispassion perceives the things as it is. It does not create any wrong notion. I'm comparing living wisely and living in ignorance.
Okay.
So it means I have to understand what this crazy word is emotional freedom or detachment or dispassion or discernment. So now we are entering into the journey of the Eastern wisdom. Living wisely, one column. Living in ignorance, other column. Living in ignorance, emotional dependence. Living wisely, emotional freedom. Living in ignorance, attachment and detachment, that causes the duality. Living in non duality, free from attachment. Living in delusion, living in freedom from the delusion. Living with the wandering mind, forgetfulness mind, obsessed mind, living with one pointedness of the mind. You need not to worry about, that my mind goes back to the same anxiety and reaction, because now you are living wisely. And what is the ultimate of living wisely? I am the real self, I am the pure consciousness, I am not the body, mind, intellect, ego, thoughts, fear, anxiety, duality, conflict. Then who am I? I am peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. How simple it is. So then the Eastern wisdom says there are three steps to remove this ignorance. We have already understood living in ignorance, living wisely. So now we say what is the path looks like. So one Upanishad says Asato ma satgamaya. I have to explore what is false. I have to recognize what is false knowledge. After recognition, I have to drop it from my mind. And so that my mind starts approaching the real self or the truth. That is the first step. And that can happen only when we move from the ignorance to wisdom. Ignorance tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Have you seen an ostrich?
Yeah.
Do you know that when the ostrich is scared, you already know it.
They're funny animals.
When the ostrich is scared, it puts its head into the ground.
Okay.
And the hunter animal says, now it's a good feast.
That's funny.
That is a perfect example of living in ignorance.
You had your head in the ground?
Yeah. Why don't you understand? I have a lot of fears and anxiety. Why don't you treat that? So you are so much obsessed with your ignorance that you don't want to listen to the people.
Mm.
Your IQ goes up because you have been constantly thinking, now I will have a fear, now I'll have an anxiety. You are welcoming anxiety and the fear by the thoughts and feeling because of the emotional dependence.
Yeah.
That is working like an ostrich, like an intelligent animal. So when I'm too much obsessed, I claim I'm more intelligent than the teachers or the psychiatrist. There are more than 100 research papers published. I told you before. They claim, these research papers declare that those who have been suffering from chronic mental disorder, their IQ increases to 69% more than average mentally healthy being.
What? I don't understand.
These research papers published suggest that those who have chronic anxiety or any mental disorder, their IQ is 69% more than average healthy individual.
Why?
Because they keep on thinking. They keep on thinking about anxiety, wrong notion, unauthentic self, and they think so much so that they can beat even the greatest psychiatrist on the earth by their argument. Am I one of them? I have to be very.
I'm an, I'm an ostrich.
so ostrich proves by logic. I'm saving myself. Why don't you understand? A chronic drug addict. I was looking at the Discovery Channel. So he was caught at the airport taking about something 600 grams of cocaine, and he started arguing with those CBS and Homeland Security officers. Why don't you understand? I'm addicted to cocaine. That's why I am traveling with this much of cocaine. The police officer was saying, why don't you understand that you are arrested because you brought the illegal drug? Why don't you understand? No, I cannot live without it. No, you are only allowed 2 milligram. No, that does not make a difference because I take 6 milligram every day. They stick to their argument.
Mm.
Okay, you catch me, but you catch me. I'm okay with it, but don't take my cocaine away from me.
Sick, man.
I was listening to. I said, okay, this is very good example. So third one, what happens when we remove all the false notion and we mind starts approaching the truth by removing the ignorance and moving to the wisdom, then what happens? You experience a sense of freedom, the sense of limitation and incompleteness disappears, and you experience that I'm the pure consciousness, so there is no death at all. I'm totally free. What to talk about the fear, anxiety, duality, and a conflict? That is known as awakening, that is known as realization, that is known as transformation. In our journey of the Eastern wisdom, aims at self discovery.
Can you prove that there is no death?
Who is asking the question?
The ostrich.
So the host is asking the question. Yes, I think I should take up that those questions also. So you asked a very good question. So, but we have to answer a couple of questions before I take up that question.
Okay.
So we should understand why masters say we live in ignorance. We should answer that question.
Okay.
So then we will come to that question. Keep that question in your mind. What we know about ourselves. You start from there. Our name, yes. Gender, yes. Nationality, yes. Parents, yes. Profession, yes. Strength, yes. Weaknesses, yes. I know so much about myself. What a great deal. Then I will ask you to repeat that question. Our desires, yes. Our cravings, yes. Our emotions, yes. Our education, yes. Really? When we knew all these things about ourselves, do we know all these things about ourselves at the time of the birth? No. After birth? No. Many years after the birth? Yes. How dare you are asking that question? Now repeat the question that you asked me. How dare you ask that question? First solve this puzzle.
What do you mean?
Do you know your name, gender, nationality, parents, profession, strengths, and weaknesses at the time of the birth?
Oh, no.
So, how dare you ask that question? That is a so when you are asking this question, this is another level of ignorance.
Okay.
I told you that our masters have written 3,000 texts. They have answered to every question openly, straight, bluntly. Okay, let us ask another question. Did we know we are going to be born?
No.
Is it not ignorance?
That we didn't know, or that we.
We didn't know when we are going to be born.
How would that be ignorance? How would we know?
I don't know whether I'll be born or not. Forget about the gender or which parent or place or I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to be born, or whether I'll be born as an animal or an ant or an ostrich or a human being, I don't know. This is my opinion after a few years, and when I started thinking, it is my opinion, then I was born in that day. Okay, I was born in that day, very good. So what about the mom kept us inside her womb? So you were born on the date of the birth, when you came out of the womb of the mother, or you were already born 9 months ago. Is it not ignorance? We had no choice. Now see that did we have a choice for the birth?
No.
No. Is it not ignorance? We will ask.
No.
I did not have any choice when I will be born.
Okay, I understand that.
So that is ignorance. I don't know. If I know when I will be born consciously, then before the date of the birth, I know, Mom, don't worry, I will come out after 8.5 months and 9 months. I don't know.
But
But
why
why
is
is
that
that
ignorance?
Ignorance means I don't know. Why don't you understand? I don't know. Whether I know it or I don't know it. So when I don't know, it is ignorance.
Okay.
We're, be very clear. So I did not have any choice of the birth, also the gender. I did not have a choice for parents. I did not have a choice for the country, the social and the economic condition of my parents. I am in ignorance.
Okay.
We only knew all these stuff at the surface level, falsely, when I developed my individuality, when I started saying, I am, I am, I am. I don't know this, I am, but I started saying, I am, I am. I am still in ignorance. I am still in ignorance. Did we know about our life and future at the time of the birth?
No.
I am in ignorance. I don't know. Simple. Ignorance simplified. I don't know. I know it. Very good. Where my life is going, do I know? Next day, will I be alive? Do I know with certainty?
You
You
don't
don't
know.
know. I'm in ignorance.
So then we're always going to be in ignorance.
No, that is what the Eastern wisdom says. We have to move from ignorance to wisdom. I made it just now clear.
Then
Moving from the false, first step is moving from the false to the truth. By the knowledge, we remove the ignorance and ultimately we find our authentic self.
then
Then
what
what
does
does
wisdom
wisdom
say
say
about
about
being
being
born?
born? We are understanding very clearly that we are in ignorance with all humility and receptivity. So, why? Because when I clearly understand what is the problem, we can find a solution. When the doctor does all kinds of investigations of your body, then he knows here are the medication. So let us be 100% clear what is the problem. So when we have a problem, then we will find a solution. Either we find a solution or we don't find a solution. Both possibilities are there. But first, 100% be very clear that we are suffering from a problem that is called ignorance that causes suffering, and the suffering includes fear, anxiety, duality, conflict, blame, reaction, anger, violence, and long list. And that is nothing but the delusion. So we are understanding what is, do I know from where I came from? I don't know. It's an easy answer. No, I came from the womb of the mother. So from where the mother came? From her mom's womb. And then go. So we fall into a problem of whether the chicken is first or egg is first. Leave that question unanswered. But understand that I don't know. We will find the answer.
Do
Do
you
you
have
have
the
the
answer?
answer?
We all have the answer, especially every great master, more than 3,000 masters of the Eastern wisdom, has a clear answer. But if you want to jump onto the answer instantly, I get a lot of people on the LinkedIn. I am a great influencer. I have 50,000 likes and I will help you. I am helping the coaches to make 35K per month by a simple program.
Okay.
Okay.
So I asked them, are you making that? Yes. Do you still crave for the money? No, 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 no. I'm helping people. So I said, it means you are giving me your program free of cost because you don't have a craving for money. You are earning 35K. No, 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 you did not understand. You are not a right fit. Ah, so tell me how to be a right fit. You know, this is when you are not being authentic to yourself, then you raise all these doubts and questions. Then you become self-protective. Don't be protective. Do we know how to think, respond, and act to the inner and the outer conditions, weaknesses, and problems? Do I know it?
Yes.
Yes.
So when I know it, I don't have any problem. You have to accept, first recognize the problem. How we claim we are suffering and grieving when we do not know. We do not know who I was before birth, where I am going after death, whether we are going to be born, where I came from, what will happen in the future, what is going to happen in the next moment. Do I know from where I came? Is it not an ignorance? I don't know. We are focused today only on recognize, appreciate that we are living in ignorance. The ego inside is also a false notion. That ego says, how dare you say that I'm living in ignorance? No. So that means that you are a non-seeker. A seeker should appreciate and understand clearly that whether I know it, I don't know it. Take one example. I am scared. I have a fear. Why you have a fear? So I have a fear of the death. But I know what is going to happen after the death, so I don't have any fear. So ultimately, it boils down to one question. I'm not an ostrich. I want to know. Well, if you become an ostrich, then there is no problem. You have already solved the problem.
But
I,
we don't know
know
what's
what's
going to
going to
happen.
happen.
So it means we do not know what's going to happen. So we are diagnosing the problem. We don't know what is going to happen. Is there a possibility that we should know and we will know what is going to happen? Eastern wisdom says yes. Calm down. Move slowly. Slow.
Eastern
Eastern
wisdom
wisdom
says
says
there's
there's
a
a
possibility
possibility
that
that
we
we
may
may
know.
know.
Only 200%. So you have to follow that. If you want to know what is this is a solid, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So now the physicists say this is not solid, it is all about energy. But so I'm ignorant. No, it is a solid. I see it. How dare you say that it is only an energy? So from making a journey from solid, which is a false knowledge, to an energy, I have to study physics step by step.
Okay.
Okay.
That is what we are doing here. You're always in a.
Okay.
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 So
So
really,
really,
what you're
what you're
saying is
saying is
everything is
everything is
just
just
energy.
energy.
I gave an example of the solid. I did not give an example of who am I.
But
But
it
it
could
could
all
all
boil
boil
down to
down
the
to the
one
one
same
same
source
source
that's
that's
just
just
in
in
that
that
it's
it's
just
just
That
energy.
energy.
is crazy. If everything is energy, and if energy can ever be conscious, okay, this is energy. So can this energy is conscious?
Is
Is
it
it
conscious?
conscious?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, it is not conscious. Hey, I'm looking at the right hand. It means I'm a conscious entity. So if this is matter, does this right hand say, I am also conscious of you, weird guy?
No,
No,
that
that
would be
would be
okay.
okay.
No.
No.
However,
However,
when
when
Nick
Nick
dies or
dies or
when
when
Girish
Girish
dies,
dies,
there
there
is
is
no
no
more
more
consciousness.
consciousness.
We have to respect.
Ah, I
I
tricked
tricked
you.
you.
No, no, it's very easy. You have answered your own question. It means I am a conscious entity. Conscious entity is different from energy. Energy is nothing but the matter. I cannot be the matter. I am the pure consciousness. So once I de identify myself with the matter, that is body, mind, intellect, thought, and ego, I discover myself. You never tricked me, you rightly answered, and that is the journey we have to undertake.
So
So
consciousness
consciousness
doesn't
doesn't
change.
change.
Come back.
Okay.
Okay.
We have to recognize what is ignorance. Don't if you deviate, then it will be a problem. That is what is happening. Deviation means that you are wandering. Wandering mind cannot find what is. Keep those questions intact. I will answer every question. Can I see your house? No, no, we are going to a mall. No, but let me see your house first. No, no, we are going to the mall first. That is our goal. No, no, let me see your house, take a cup of tea, and then I'll go to the mall. No, don't, no deviation. Be focused. We are recognizing in this session that we are living in ignorance. Another example of appreciate you, your mind should, the moment your mind appreciates, you become a seeker. How many times I was anxious in last 5 years? Maybe 100,000 times. How many times I have a fear? Maybe 100,000 times. Okay, very good, very good. So it means I become anxious, that goes away, I become anxious, so everything is being repeated again and again, and I don't want to be anxious, I don't want to have a fear. It means days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months, and years after years, the same thing is being repeated again, and I'm not learning from in my own experience. And it proves that I'm living in ignorance. I don't know. And because I have been living in these wrong and the false notions of anxiety, duality, fear, and the problems, go back to the Hitler, repeat the false 10 times, it becomes the truth. So I say my nature is being anxious, my nature is being fearful, my nature is to react, my nature is to get agitated, my nature is to being stressed. And then from there, the question comes, what question comes? Can you ever get free from anxiety? Because you claim that it is your nature. You don't want to inquire. You don't want to recognize and appreciate. So if you don't appreciate the question, no, no, I've been repeating, being fearful today, tomorrow, for the last 5 years, that fear is being repeated in a different ways. I'm repeating the same thing and I'm not inquiring. It is a false notion. It is ignorance. I don't know. If I know it, I will solve the problem once and forever. So,
Yeah.
in today's session, we are focused on we should recognize the problem. that I don't know who am I. So why I asked this question? You asked it. Can you ever get free from anxiety, fear? That was your question. Answer lies that I'm ignorant. Why? I don't know whether my nature is fear. If my nature is fear, the question you asked me that declares that my nature is fear. So when my nature is fear, I'm happy being fearful. No problem. But it is not so because I want to get rid of the fear. So what I want in my life, that I what I don't want, I want to be free from what I do not want. Do you want fear? Say yes. Do you want anxiety? Say yes. Do you want reaction? Yes. So when you answer yes, you are contradicting yourself because you want freedom from what you do not want. Are you getting it?
You
You
want
want
freedom
freedom
from
from
what
what
you
you
are
are
not.
not.
What you are not or what you do not want. You don't want anxiety, you don't want fear, you don't want depression, you don't want stress, you don't want extreme fatigue, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what I do not want is fear. But if fear is my nature, I cannot get rid of the fear. Hence, it proves that fear is not my nature. It means that is the problem. I'm ignorant, and it means there is always a solution. Where there is a problem, there is a solution. No, no, but answer my question from where my mind thinks that can one ever get out of the fear? I'm taking your question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not. Because my mind is habituated for the last 5 years. Fears are constantly being repeated at different events with the different people, with the different situations and conditions. Life is a series of experiences. All experiences takes place in the mind. All these experiences have created a false notion in the mind that you can never get rid of the fear. Tell me, am I right or wrong? So, all our experiences are conclusions without having a right knowledge. Hence, I'm living in ignorance and I claim that no one can get rid of the fear. I cannot no one can know what is before birth and after the death. Because it is my personal experience. Your personal experience is ignorance. You don't know. You have been repeating your fear and anger, reaction and anxiety for the last 5 years. How dare you say that your experience is right? No, we are recognizing where is the problem. So when you recognize, you move with the humility, means that you have a receptivity. Don't we say that the flow of our experiences is nothing but the life? Okay, flow of experiences is our life. Are we not living our life in ignorance? The flow of all experiences, you examine even for the last 1 week, you will find out the mind is constantly repeating the same habitual, impulsive, and instinctive events and the things. Flow of experiences, if it is life, and if all experiences takes place in the mind, so the mind has created a wrong notion about life and the living. I have to get rid of these wrong notions. I have to get rid of these wrong notions. How many times you met a person for the first time, you have a sense of attraction or liking, and after a few weeks, your mind says, no, it is like that guy. After a few more weeks, you kept a distance with that person. After a few more weeks, you've forgotten. And every experience is accumulated in the mind. Are you not living in ignorance? That has
Ignorance.
been that has been happening again and again and again and being repeated again and again,
Yep.
mechanically, habitually. This we call as my life. This what I call I am.
Yeah.
Are we not crazy then?
We are.
I must admit, I'm crazy. Come on. My fear is not my nature. Dislike is not my nature. Like is not my nature. Delusion is not my nature. I'm crazy. So when I accept I'm crazy, I am living in ignorance, then only we have diagnosed the problem. So our goal is to first remove this ignorance, and then we will go back to the question, what is the life before birth, after death? Can I die or not? Then we will go. I told you, physics, from a solid to energy, and from energy now they come to the quantum mechanics, metaphysics. So we are not so. So you see that body, huh? So we understand that point. What we are doing is. So I should. Are we not crazy, obsessed, and living like habitual and the animal? Answer is yes. We are living in deeper ignorance than animals. At least, animals find their food. And I have seen the lion on the Discovery Channel. They pray, they eat, and after eating, they lie down on the back on the ground. They are relaxing. We have to secure food. Sometimes we secure food for 2 weeks and the food is rotten, we throw it. We waste a lot of food. We have 50 pairs of clothes in our closet. Aha.
Why?
So, are we better than animals? These animals do not waste anything. I have seen the tiger after eating his prey full, they jump onto the tree and take their prey for the next meal.
Yeah.
So we have to ask one question again and again. Who am I? Do I know? The moment the mind answers, I am a man, who told you that you are a man? It comes from the society. The answer is not coming from within yourself. Say first thing. Now see the level of ignorance. Man is just a label of any living species. Any living species. Man means gender. So you are a gender, or I want to know who you are. No, I'm Nick. I'm Michael. So are you Michael, or Michael is just a label or a name? No, no, Michael is a name. That is the process of contemplation. We get rid of those wrong notions. But if you do not contemplate, you don't become a seeker, you remain as a non seeker, then the fear, anxiety, duality, and a conflict continues in your life unabated, unceasingly. It continues days after days. Then what happens? Because we start thinking too much, overthinking about fear and anxiety, and they set in our mind. From there, we ask a question: can you ever get rid of the fear? Maybe because your mind is thinking in terms of the fear. What to say? No, you cannot get out of the fear as long as you claim that fear is your nature. Well, if you claim fear is your nature, then you are always happy being fearful. That is your nature. Take another example. Water. The nature of the water is to be liquid. You put the water into a refrigerator, it becomes an ice, and bring it out. Don't do anything. After some time, it becomes water. You boil it, it becomes vapor. Leave the heat, it becomes water again. Means the water, being a liquid, returns again and again to its natural state. Where is my nature? So if my nature is anxiety, so I'm happy being anxious. No, anxiety is not my nature. What I want is to freedom from an anxiety. That's a natural action by any living entity on this earth.
Yeah.
I don't want anxiety, so I want freedom from it. That indicates my nature is not anxiety. But because of the ignorance, I claim that my nature is anxiety, my nature is fear, my nature is depression, my nature is illusion. That is, once we accept this with all the humility that I don't know who am I don't know who am I, then only I can move further. I live with that there is no problem. I do not know who am I. And that is causing the struggle in my life. That is causing all the challenges in my life.
Yeah, I
What
agree.
I did that I started a series, the summary of Upanishads. The summary of all the 108 Upanishads is the text known as Gita. So I am picking up the select verses based on your temperament, based on your personality and attitude. So we will continue to understand this Gita. And Gita says if you stop thinking, you see what happens when you stop thinking? The trillions of the thoughts that you have accumulated based on your experiences continues to haunt your mind. And then it becomes difficult for you to accept what is the knowledge. Not you. You're different. Your mind. I told you, mind is not flow of life. Flow of experiences is nothing. Flow of life is experience, where the experience takes place in the mind. So I have to put this mind to the task, step by step understanding. When you recognize that here is, I'm suffering from ignorance, and the symptom is like the fever is the symptom of a viral infection. So, my fear, anxiety, duality, conflict, reaction, etc., are the symptoms of ignorance. So, I have to hit to the ignorance. But first, I recognize that I don't know.